职场使用幽默可以有效的建立感情，但用错了却需要很久的时间来修复。今天的单元就来学习影集 Brooklyn Nine-Nine 来有效的使用职场幽默。Hello， 欢迎来到 Executive Plus 主管与沟通力的 Podcast。I'm Sherry, an educator, certified coach, and style enthusiast. 我相信专业有效的沟通是语言跟逻辑的完美结合。
And I'm Nick, a startup consultant, corporate trainer, and late-night gaming junkie. I believe great communication requires the right mindset and solid frameworks.
我们希望带给大家职场英语的技能、跨文化沟通技巧与其他能帮助您成为出色领导者的工具。
Join us each week as we share our experience, research, and methodologies to take your communication and language skills from good to great. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Executive Plus podcast. This month we've been covering those little conversational or communication tips and techniques that we can pull from our favorite TV shows, things that we go back to over and over again. Today, we're going to play a little bit more on the humorous side, where Andrew has taken one of his and Sherry's favorite series, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and extracted something out on how to poke fun at people or how to burn them, but do it in a way where you are not creating enemies, but you're actually finding an inside joke with your friends.
Sherry, since Brooklyn Nine-Nine is also one of your, I wouldn't say maybe not favorite shows, but it's a show that you do like. Do you want to give everyone a quick intro of what Brooklyn Nine-Nine is? Because not everybody has seen it.
Alright, 所以我觉得 Brooklyn Nine-Nine 它其实很特别的地方就是市面上有很多的这种跟警察相关的 right 什么 CSI 啊这些，但是他们完全就是用很幽默的方式去呈现就算是一些 bloody murder or like really, you know, they don't show the violence, but they find the fun of it, they find the humor of it. 那当然这个主角就是 Jake Peralta, 还有Amy Santiago, you got Captain Holt, you have Rosa Diaz, 那当然还有其他的 character. 那他们当然中间也会有一些爱情的故事 which was why this is like one of my favorite show.
然后每一集都很短嘛，我记得好像每一集就是二十几30分钟，然后很幽默很风趣，然后把里面的 characters 弄得大家很容易喜欢他们，虽然都展现他们有点白痴有点蠢的很挫的一面，这是这个剧的一个特点。那这个剧的另外一个特点就是我们今天要讲的是他们怎么样，因为这里面的人其实感情都还蛮不错的，他们怎么样嘲笑对方，对不对？那英文有一个字刚刚 Nick 开头也有提到叫做 burn. So burn is another way to call insult. And so if your friend like really gets you on a really good joke, you're like, oh, burn, like and I'm gonna burn somebody.
Yeah.
All right, so before we actually get into this episode's core, which is how to burn people, we need to say something, especially these days. Not as serious in town, but in the US, for example, it's you gotta take this seriously, which is when you burn people, you walk a fine line between ha ha and wow, that was really hurtful. Before we get into it, we just need to say, watch out for this fine line. 不要用我们今天谈到的一些东西去伤害别人的感情。
那当然我觉得因为我们这个 source 是来自美国的这些喜剧，那美式的幽默其实之前我们的 podcast 也都有讲到，就是比较讽刺的 like sarcasm is a really important part of the humor of American humor, and that humor sometimes does not translate to Taiwan or Chinese at all. So just beware that, you know, a lot of the humor that we're going to talk about today could potentially only exist or, you know, just have to be very careful in an English language format. But yeah, just be careful about that.
Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind with the context of this show is typically the burns that are occurring between friends in the show. how you use this in the context of how we're talking about the show is if you have a very close group of friends, or there are people that you are building relationships with or getting closer to, one of these ideas to have like an inside joke or to have a reoccurring joke is something that bonds people. But it's not something you just go and use randomly on the street, like make an observation. You know, some comedians can get away with that, but usually in the setting of a comedy club, this is not something you just go out and do.
然后有时候你也可以去观察对方，像你如果认识是同事或者是朋友，或者他们有时候你可以把用来 burn 他们的那个主题，他们其实自己也会讲。那他们如果自己都已经丢出来，然后再嘲讽自己，那可能就是一个告诉你说，I have permission to use that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's now get into how Brooklyn Nine-Nine, their method of burning each other. And at the heart of their method is that every character in Brooklyn Nine-Nine comes with a 人物设定，那是叫什么人设，中文叫人设。There is some core characteristic of the character that can be made funny. And then, so that's number one. This person, this character has a core setting, 人物设定 that you can make fun of and that you've made kind of ensure that that's something haha and not hurtful. And then you use repetition. So seizing on things that occur from day to day, things that happen, seizing on these opportunities and making a joke, making a burn out of it. To start with an example, 那里面有一个女主角叫做 Amy Santiago， 她也是警察之一。她是警探吧 ？She's more a detective, right？ 然后她的人物设定就是她就是一个乖乖牌，然后她生活很有规律，但是也相反的就很无聊。
Like she follows rules. Like her favorite thing is to organize like documents, right?
Right. So it's just like, or if there's any volunteer assignment, she's the first one to do it. She loves to be an overachiever. And you just get that like teacher's pet vibe, especially for their captain, where she's just like, whatever you need, I'm here to do it. And so you get that very like buttoned up, laced up, I'm very proper person vibe out of it, which is the complete opposite of her, you know, rival / eventual husband, Jake.
And her burn, so the way other characters burn her comes also courtesy of Jake. And this is, by the way, I think this is American because it's more sexualized. In Taiwan, there's, I think, fewer sex-related jokes.
I don't think you get it right.
I don't think you're right. Jake 他 burn Amy 的方式就是title of Amy's next or follow-up sex tape. 他用这个来想要影射的是 Amy 没有 sex life, which is true. 因为 Amy 活得太规律、太乖乖牌，所以他找不到 dating 的对象。那所以给大家一个 example， 就有一次他们在开会的时候，然后在 describe 在形容一个 scene， 然后 Amy 就说 kind 在形容一些人 that they're kind, sober and fully dressed. 然后 Jake 马上听到这个，马上就说kind, sober and fully dressed. Good news, everyone. We found the title of Santiago's new sex tape. 对不对？他完全没有 sex life 嘛，所以他就算有 sex tape 也是 fully dressed.
Yeah. 因为我觉得这个我突然想到一点是title of your sex tape， 我觉得这个好像是来自于美国的 pop culture。如果你们记得的话，Paris Hilton。Kim Kardashian， 所以我觉得可能他也当然这个也是有点文化的一点小小的kind of a reference, right? So yeah, anyway, I just had to like throw that in there. Why American want to joke about sex tape? Yeah.
And there's a lot of jokes of a similar vein across different shows, like a lot of the sexualized humor or aimed at someone. So if anyone have watched the US version of The Office, one of the biggest jokes that Michael Scott always says is, that's what she said.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And it's usually related in somehow to a sexual reference. And so, but that's just a running joke over and over again. And then it gets to the point where it's like, it's absurd, or he says it in ways that people are like, what are you talking about?
对，没错。 就是因为这个已经是美国文化里面的一个迷因了，像 Jake 这种 character 或者其他人就可以一直使用。所以像有另外一次 Amy 跟另外一个同事讲说sorry about tonight， Jake 马上就说 sorry about tonight, we found the title of Amy's follow-on sex tape inferring of course that sex was terrible
or it didn't happen, right?
Yeah, or it didn't exactly.
But one of those lines back to what we talked about before of like, this is a humor that they can take. It's not like this just ends. So actually, eventually, spoilers, although the show ended like, 10 years ago at this point, Jake and Santiago end up together. And so the joke changes from the title of Amy's next sex tape to, the title of our sex tape when they get
I didn't
together.
get that far, actually.
You did not?
No, I did not, no.
Yeah, and I think one of the thing about these kind of jokes is that obviously Amy admit she has a very, rule followed life and she likes that and she's fine with that.
Yeah.
So that's why she allowed them to kind of poke fun of her in this way.
好，我们现在再来看另外一个 example。这个 example 是那个警局有一个警长，就是那个 captain 嘛。那 captain 的死对头，是一个女生演的。那这个女生呢，在里面的人物设定，当然她这不是自己的人物设定，这个是因为这出戏就是从警局那个警局的角度去看嘛，所以从警局角度去看呢，这个人就是个女巫。Now, this is getting into sensitive territory, like portraying somebody as a witch. This, you gotta be careful. But we're just using it to illustrate technique. So, because, and this lady's name is last name is Wunsch, W-U-N-C-H, Wunsch. 所以每一次这个 Wunsch 出现的时候 Captain 就会讲一个有一点 mean， 但是因为是他死对头嘛，所以对方对他也不是很 friendly， 所以他就会用这个 witch 或者是 demon 或是魔鬼的这个 setting 来讲一个讽刺的东西。像是 Wunsch 有一次出现在警局的时候就说Wunsch, good to see you, but if you're here, then who's guarding Hades? 对，你如果在这边的话，谁在守地狱的门
What makes this example, although this, borderlines on they are rivals, but why we want to bring it up is it's an interesting setup where these two characters have, maybe you wouldn't describe it as a friendly rivalry, but they do have like that kind of banter and it's expected. In fact, you'll see episodes where one of them doesn't get directly into this like banter where it's like they give as good as they get to each other. And then the other person's like, what's wrong? Something's wrong. Because it's sort of that expected. And I think a lot of people have that person in their life, whether usually it is like a friend, but it's just someone that as soon as you see them, you feel the necessity to just like poke fun somehow. Like immediately you just have to because that's the dynamic. And in this case, there's like a backstory of their rivalry, but then it is like they have professional respect, but then they constantly, it's like as soon as they see each other, like they have to say something.
Yeah.
And another example I remember is when, again, Wunsch comes to the precinct and then Captain Holt says like, Wunsch, no wonder the birds have stopped singing.
And Captain Holt would say it in a very like monotoned way.
对
Yeah, he has like no facial expression whatsoever.
Yeah. And this plays into his character, which evolves over time, but he is very straight-laced. He like sets the rules. He talks about everything in terms of, like, for example, there's a running joke that he expects all detectives to wear a tie. And then Jake like constantly finds ways to wear a tie improperly just so that he say that he can't, that he did it, right? So this is one of those moments where it's out of Holt's character that this one person angers him so much that he must burn her every time she comes, even though he's like this very rule-following, proper kind of person.
然后 Wunsch 真的也蛮会对付他的嘛，因为我刚刚提到那个 example 不是说Wunsch 你来了，难怪鸟都不 鸟都不唱歌了，就是 the devil's here, right? 然后 Wunsch 好像 if I remember right, Wunsch turned it around on him. And because she's there to bring him some bad news. And so she's like, oh, they're having a moment of silence over the end of your career. 他们就很会把这个转过来去 burn 对方。
Yeah, so this is one of those instances where, especially if your burns go a little bit on the edge of insult, the most common time you will see this, whether in TV shows or in real life, is when both sides have that witty banter. If it's just one-sided, then it's just someone being a jerk. Yeah. But when it has this like back and forth and it's just kind of a contest of who can burn the other person, then it's in good fun.
好，我们最后一个 example 是有另外一个警探 Rosa Diaz。然后 Rosa， 其实我觉得 Rosa 跟 Amy， 因为刚刚 Amy Santiago， 我们不是说她很无聊吗？但她其实长得蛮漂亮的。I hope my wife doesn't listen to this. But 她长得蛮漂亮。Rosa 其实长得也
She's an actress. I think you're fine.
Rosa, no, you don't know women. No, Rosa 其实也长得不难看，但是她有一个特点。虽然她漂亮，可是她非常非常的。I wouldn't say mean， 对他很暴力，然后又不太笑，然后他就是一个很 tough， 就是他这个人的个性没有任何软的地方，对，所以他就是整个 portrayal 就是，而且他只穿黑色，这种穿黑色啊，穿皮衣啊，然后你如果冒犯到他，可能就要被他打成重伤。
And she's like super private. You don't know anything about her.
对，所以呢，他的人物设定就是非常非常的 tough。那所以呢，像有一次。他进来，然后 Rosa 那天不是穿黑色的，是穿粉红色，而且是亮粉红色的衬衫。然后 Amy 看到了就很困惑，然后看到他走过去，然后其他人就说：“怎么穿粉红色的衬衫？”然后 Amy 就说：“Guys, are we sure it wasn't a white shirt that was bloodied in a motorcycle crash？” 因为 Rosa 是骑 motorcycle 的嘛。对，所以要portray 说他很 tough， 所以有 blood 这样。然后另外一位同事呢，就说也很困惑，然后就说 Maybe it wasn't her. Does Rosa have a twin sister? 好，另外一个同事马上就接话 If Rosa had a twin, she would have eaten her in the womb.
Yeah, this is one of those things where it's interesting because Rosa sometimes burns people, but for the most part, it's like when someone tries to burn her, she just like looks at them until they like get silent and like kind of move away.
And important context is they did all this burning behind her back. Like she didn't actually hear it.
Yes,
because they don't dare say it to her face, right?
Right.
Yeah, I really like how they kind of just pick on this one particular trait of the character where they're really okay with. So, I mean, I feel like we burn each other consistently, but there's like a very specific thing that we burn each other about.
Fancy lady.
Yeah,
yes.
Exactly. Okay, fine. Because I admit it, fine. But whenever I get anything or I eat anything that perhaps resemble fancy, not even, like even when I order Din Tai Fung, you guys still make fun of me.
Well, okay.
Din Tai Fung is a premium brand.
Yeah. For context, yes, we make fun in the office of Sherry being a fancy lady all the time. But it's because she has a specific superpower, which is anywhere she walks in, no matter whether it is a high-class establishment or some very basic store, she can immediately pick out the most expensive thing in that store. So, for example, just yesterday, there was a story of she, along with a few coworkers, decided to get a quick lunch from 7-Eleven. And she managed to find the most expensive fruit in 7-Eleven to buy for her lunch. Of all the cheap, basic items.
The grapes itself was like $80. But I mean, it's more expensive than my fan tuan,
It's like in context.
Sounds right.
Yeah. So it's like in context of anything you could buy in there, her brain immediately went that thing. And of course, it is the most expensive thing in the place. So this is like her superpower. So this is why, part of how we burn her, a joke about fancy lady. of like, you don't even need to know what the price tag on anything it is. She's like a, what they call a divining rod that you search for water, just like which price tag. Oh, that.
然后在办公室，然后不给他狗呆法的咖啡啊，他不喝。What's the matter? Not expensive enough. 什么不是爱马仕的咖啡哦？继续分给他。
There you go, guys. That's how they burn me. Okay, I'm going to turn the table. What about Nick? How do we burn Nick? So many things.
So many things.
Your eating habits, the way you talk about how I don't eat real food, but I don't know your definition of real food.
Also, what you guys...
And the fact that he has more leather bags than my wife does.
Yeah. So a few things that I get burned a lot would be, one, picky eating, even though I'm really not the pickiest eater in the office. Two is my obsession with leather goods. So bags, literally anything if like I see
and that literally is true. You have more bags than my wife does.
That is true. Well, I'm not...
The price would be different, I would say.
Pricing different. Quantity, yes. But yeah, things like that. So I have a tendency to constantly do that.
And the fact that if you're super busy right now, if I wanted to bother you, there's one trick, is that asking him about tech. Oh, how do you feel about the speaker? He would immediately go on a website and look for reviews, no matter how busy he is.
就算他有一个那个 deadline in 1 hour，
没错，
对，然后他还没开始做，那还是会没关系，可以的，我很快。
There's always enough time for tech research. Always enough time.
Okay, so what about Andrew?
我好像没有吧。
I would say the only thing that we give Andrew a hard time about is because he has a tendency to use a lot of curse words and explicitives.
Oh, yeah.
That his daughter's first speaking patterns are going to be less than baby talk.
Yeah. 因为这件事情是其实 Andrew 大概也没有办法停止的。
今天早上就是开车的时候也会啊，对，我就骂一个人 fucking idiot， 然后我就骂完以后，马上要对女儿讲说啊，对不起。真的 Yeah, I'm so sorry. I can't. Sorry. There's just too many fucking idiots in the world. I can't. Sorry.
So, yes, these are one of those things where, we'll usually dig at these specific traits. Well, we hope that you enjoyed our little look at a more humorous or interesting TV show and something, I would say, less office communication, but it is back to that American humor, sarcasm, etc., where you can pick out these things. And not just Brooklyn Nine-Nine, but you'll also notice in long-running shows like Friends, each of the characters will have a character trait that constantly gets pushed on. And so this is just a way that, especially with Americans, people build relationships, build banter. Go and enjoy Brooklyn Nine-Nine. That is one of the few shows that we've mentioned that are on Netflix, not HBO, so probably more people have access to it. But it's a great no-brainer background TV show. We'll talk to you guys next time.
Bye.
Bye.
The Executive Plus podcast is a Presentality Group production, produced and hosted by Sherry Fang and Nick Howard. You can search us on Facebook, 主管英文 Executive Plus. You can also find us on Instagram, Communication R&D, and email us at sherry@epstyleplus.com.